Hey guys, Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. I'm with an Orlando legend. I'm going to say that, Joe. Joe Seagle is with me. I love the title of this show. None of your business is our business. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. If you don't know Joe, you're not in real estate. You probably have definitely been under a rock. Joe's been around quite a while, even though he's got those young boyish looks. But I'm excited to have him talk about none of your business is our business today. Welcome to the show, Joe. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Talk about legends. You're the legend, not me.
Only in my own mind, my friend. Only in my own mind. So I told you the audience loves an origin story. They like to know about you. They kind of like to know point A to point B before we take a deep dive into the main topic. So give them a little 411 background on you.
Okay, well, going all the way back, I was born in North Carolina and lived there until I was, 25, 26 years old. Practiced there, went to college there at Carolina, went to law school there, practiced for a couple of years. No, actually, it's more than a couple. It's about 5 years. And then moved down here in 2001. So I consider myself a Florida native at this point, and been practicing here in Orlando since 2001. I was with another firm until about 2004. And then I went out on my own and opened my own firm. And we opened the land trust business in 2004 as well. And this past April, we merged. We acquired another land trustee firm called Land Trust Service Corporation. And we now manage I think we're over 2,100 trusts at this point around
Wow.
Florida, 2,100 properties. So we get a lot of mail every day, and
I bet you
a
do.
lot of correspondence, a lot of emails. Yeah, yeah. So that's what we do, and that's how we got here.
I mean, I think so. Let's take a deep dive into trusts because none of your business is our businesses. That's what we're going to talk about. I think there is so much misinformation out there about trust. I think that there are a lot of people who talk about the benefits of a trust and have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, which is why it's sometimes hard to maneuver through all of the uneducated people. But I think there's a lot of people who are interested in it. They like the concept of it, but they have no idea how to really utilize it, how to get it rolling. So let's talk about trusts. I'm going to let you go.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I agree. There are a lot of we hear a lot of other lawyers who don't want to touch them because they think they're fraudulent, and they hear a lot of bad things about them. And I agree that as with anything, LLCs or anything that you do in real estate, especially in Florida, there could be fraud involved always. But we always, because we are an independent trustee, we are attorney owned and operated. Of course, we stay out of that realm of any fraud. And I did have title agencies. I worked in title agencies and I owned title agencies for well over 20 years. So I also understand that side of the game and what people are watching out for over there, so we're trained also to watch out for it. But of course, the best part of any land trust is that it does provide anonymity, hence our tagline, none of your business is our business. Because most of our clients they're real estate investors who buy and sell lots of houses in a year. They may flip them, or they may buy and hold those houses. We also do a lot of work with celebrities, YouTubers, content creators, sports athletes, professional athletes, and just very wealthy families, family offices. A lot of CPAs and financial advisors will refer their clients over to us because what we provide is right now, if you buy a property and it's in your name, of course, your name is going to appear on the public records
That's right.
and be searchable. So anybody searches your name, it's going to pop up as owning this property. So then a lot of people go, well, I'll just use an LLC. And we go, okay, that's great. We can use an LLC, but then they search and see that the LLC owns the property. Then they search Sunbiz and see who owns the LLC or who's the manager. And they go, so it must be this guy. Or they search your name as an officer of the company, because you can search by
Right.
names as well and find you that way. So you go, well, no, I'll be even more clever. I'll form an LLC in another state, that like Wyoming or Nevada or Delaware, that doesn't publish my name. And then I'll buy the property in that name, in that LLC's name. And we go, well, that's perfectly doable, but you may be a little too clever for yourself, because at that point, coming from the title side again, anyone can walk into a title office or a closing attorney's office and say, hey, here's an operating agreement, and here's the articles of organization for this LLC in Wyoming, and I'll sign an affidavit. I'm the member and I'm the manager of that, and I need to take out a mortgage. I'm taking out a HELOC on this property. And they have no way of checking it. They have no way of verifying it, and they have to take you at your word. So they put a HELOC on that property that you have so cleverly hidden who really owns it. So the stopgap for that, the alternative to that is us. You use someone like us, who's an independent third-party trustee, who's out there. Our face is out there, and we are the trustee of the trust, and you are the beneficiary. So while our name appears on the land, on the records, as the owner, no one knows who owns the trust. So that's your business. And we don't tell anyone who you are or what you own. So when something bad happens with that property, or when something bad happens with you, no one realizes that you are connected to the property. If
Interesting.
someone slips and falls at the property, someone breaks their ankle, someone gets shot at the property, bitten by a dog, they come after us as trustee of the trust, which means they are only coming after that property. They're not coming after everything else you own. They are, and if you are the target of a lawsuit, maybe it has nothing to do with this property, but they're going to sue you for a contract default. Maybe you breached a very large contract, and the lawyer's getting ready to sue you. One of the things they're going to do is they're going to look to see if you're worth suing. Do you own anything that they could ever take to satisfy a judgment if they win their case against you? So they're going to search your name, and if your name doesn't pop up in the records because it's not out there, they're going to look at you as non-collectible, and they're going to go back to their client. They're going to say, look, you're getting ready to spend about $20,000 in attorney's fees
Right.
to sue this person for maybe $100,000 on a contract dispute, and they don't have anything to ever satisfy it. So you're going to be very unhappy with me when this is over, because I'm going to sue this person and they have nothing. And then you're going to spend more money to try to find what they do have. And by then the person's just going to go, you know what, never mind. It's not even worth suing them. I'm not going to spend the money on it. Let's just walk away and chalk it up and move on. So that's really the biggest selling point, the biggest advantage of a land trust is it gives you anonymity, but there is still a name attached to that property. So people, if they see it's owned by one of our entities, they go look it up. They can search us on the internet, and we're going to pop up. So all the time we're getting phone calls from prospective tenants saying, hey, I'm looking at this property, and this guy, it's really great rent. It's insanely low, and he just wants me to pay the first month's last month and a $2,000 security deposit. But before I hand him money, I see that your name is the owner of the property. So I'm just reaching out to you to make sure it's okay to give this person money. And about 50% of the time, we check and we go, no, do not give any money to that person, because that person is trying to steal your money. So you're going to sign a lease with someone who has no authority to sign a lease. You're going to move in, you're going to give them money, and it's just going to be gone. And eventually the sheriff's going to show up and kick you out of that house. And then you're going to be out of a house and out of money. So, and our landlord now, our beneficiary, didn't have to deal with a squatter in the house moving in illegally. So But if they had been totally anonymous, that wouldn't have happened. Or someone would have just, stolen their identity and said, "Hey, yeah, I'm John Smith and I own this house. You can check the records. Here's my ID." Make up a fake ID and do the same exact thing. So this is actually, with that anonymity coupled with us, you're actually helping avoid fraud for potential tenants and buyers out there.
I've got a couple of questions for you. I mean, I find trust fascinating, and I've experienced the benefits of a trust for sure. I've seen it in action. Does someone, and I know the answers to these questions, but I'd much rather you answer them. Does someone, are they able to, once they own a house, put the home in a trust? Like, let's say they've already purchased it. Do they need to do it up front? And like, let's say they have a mortgage. Do mortgage companies allow them? Like, explain that for the general population who are sitting there going, okay, I've got several assets I'd like to protect. I'm getting my new house or I'm getting a second home. What can I do with what I already have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The best practice, of course, is when you close on the purchase, it goes straight into a land trust off the bat, because then your name never appears in the records. However, as you brought up, lots of lenders, especially if it's a conventional loan with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, of course, they don't like trust and they don't like LLCs. They want a human being as their borrower and their owner and their mortgagor. So in those cases, unfortunately, a lot of times, yeah, you'll have to close in your name. However, transferring the property into a land trust after you have purchased it at least does not incur documentary stamp taxes again, because there's a specific exemption that even if the property has $1 billion mortgage on it, if it goes into a land trust and the person putting it in is also the beneficiary of the trust, there's no that's not a taxable event. There are no doc stamps. However, if you're doing the same thing with an LLC, you do have to pay those doc stamps again, which is sort of onerous. They can be pretty high. You do run the risk, of course. There's a couple of three things. Number one, of course, there's the thing called the due on sale clause in every mortgage. If the property is your homestead that you're putting into a trust, there is an exception for that under federal law, that you're still allowed to put it into the trust, and the lender cannot enforce the due on sale clause for that. A lot of people think that that same exception, called the Garn St. Germain Depository Act, they think that that also applies to every property. Unfortunately, that's not the case. However, we have put thousands upon thousands of properties into trust that are subject to mortgages. And out of all those, we've had it two times, that the lender has enforced the due on sale clause by saying, hey, you've got 30 days to pay us off or put this back in the borrower's name. And both of
Interesting.
those times were with the same lender. It was Flagstar Bank. And one time we got the bank to waive it when they realized that the beneficiary was still their borrower. They were okay with it. The second time, the borrower just said, "Never mind, just go ahead and put it back in my name, and I'm done with these people." So that's one thing, is the due on sale clause. Number two is insurance. Anytime you change title on property, you need to have the insured on your insurance policy is the owner of the property, because that is who will be sued if something bad happens at the property.
Right.
So you will have to get new insurance, and we all know insurance is an issue in Florida, period.
It's a challenge right now.
Yes, I don't care what it is, insurance is a problem. So just understand you could be tipping over that apple cart to do that. And the third thing that I always warn people about whenever we say, hey, we're going to change title, regardless of why we're changing title, how we're changing title, whether it's going into just another person's name or a trust or into an LLC or anything. In Florida, you have caps on the value. And if it's your home, it's capped very low. Even if it's commercial property, non-homestead property, it's still capped on how much the property appraiser can raise your value every year. So if you've owned that property for a long time, there's a danger that just changing the title could trigger that revaluation. And we've had it before. In fact, just in the past few weeks, I've been asked to move property into a trust, and I will look and go, hey, your valuation is maybe $300,000 less for taxable value. They're taxing you at $300,000 less than the market value, according to the property appraiser. So we changed this. Your taxes are going to quadruple. And we had a gentleman come to us that he didn't know that. He'd gone to another land trustee. They had conveyed a homestead property into a land trust that had been a homestead for years. His taxes went from $1,000 a year to $7,000 a year. So he came to
Wow.
us to try to rectify that, to sort of back it out and fix it, because it really was still their homestead. So we had to do amendments to the land trust and all kinds of things. And then it's just, okay, we've done all these documents. Now let's hope and pray, that the property appraiser will accept these as effective last year, so that they will take the taxes back down to the $1,000 rather than the $7,000 on this house. So that's
Interesting.
another reason we tell people, it's like, it's great to go. I mean, land trusts are one thing, but having an attorney advise you as you're going into it is also extremely important, because
Huge.
there are a lot of non-lawyer land trustees out there who don't understand all these nuances. And a lot of times that's what I'm fixing. And I'll tell you right now, probably about 30% of the calls that I handle, the consultations, 30% of them, I probably tell people, it's like, yeah, I can do exactly what you want me to do, and I will make money off of this, but unfortunately, it's going to cost you more money over the long run. So here are other things that we need to do instead of this. And a lot of times it doesn't involve me at all. It doesn't make me any money at all. But as an attorney, I owe a duty to those people to explain to them what's in their best interest, not what's in my best interest. So that's what we try to do every day. And even doing that, a lot of people go, I don't care. I still want a land trust, or I still want the LLC. And we do it for them. But at least they've gone into it with their eyes completely open, wide open, and they understand what they're doing.
Well, the advice from attorney, that's always, in my opinion, the best route to go. You want to work with an attorney on anything that has to do with land trust, LLCs, all of that good stuff. Um, One last question before we wrap up. I have a lot of investors that watch the show. And a lot of investors have, it's interesting, it's a very opinion, they have opinions on land trusts. Most of them are very big proponents of it. Do you find can you recommend for investors, is it better to have one overall land trust? Is it better to have a separate trust slash LLC for each property? Explain a little bit of that, because I think there's some confusion out there in investor world about the best way to, in your opinion, to go.
Yeah, definitely. Think of a land trust as a basket, and each property is an egg. If you put one egg in one basket, if that basket gets dropped, you've only lost one egg. All of your other eggs are fine. So definitely, if you're going to go the land trust route, you want to put each property in its own separate land trust to keep them separate from you and separate from each other. Now, the LLC route, typically where I'm advising there is, if you are a buy and hold investor, you're going to want to have one LLC that you used that does nothing but holds the beneficial interest for those buy and hold LLC properties, the rentals, anything you're holding over a year. For the ones that you are flipping, if you also do flipping, a lot of people don't do flipping and holding anymore, but there are still people out there who do. But if you're doing flipping, you'll want a separate LLC to be the beneficiary of those land trusts. But definitely you want to use a land trust per property, especially if you're flipping, because at that point, that land trust is the seller of the property to the next buyer. And I know this is going to sound like a nasty lawyer talking here, but when you sell a property after you fixed it up, you're on the hook for what you did to that property. And I can't tell you how many times we've been the land trustee that sold a buy and flip, fix and flip, And we get the call a month later, hey, the septic tank's backing up. Hey, there are termites. You didn't tell me about termites. All these things. And we go, okay, well, you can sue us. We were the trustee of the trust, and the only asset that that trust ever had was the property you're now sitting in. So there's really nothing for you to get. We're an empty vessel. So you can sue us and get a judgment against us, and it will be completely uncollectible. So we'd always advise, especially fix and flip investors, to do each property in its own separate land trust as they go along.
I love it. All right. So, Joe, good information as expected. The pro, the king, the godfather of land trust. Joe, tell us the best way they can find out more if they want to talk to you and your team about land trust. What's the best way they can reach you?
Best way to get us is to go to our website, mylandtrustee.com. That will get you all of our contact information. Or you can also always call us. Our toll-free number is 833-4FL-TRUST. And I think that's 833-435-8787 is what that works out to be.
I love it. All right, Joe. Thank you so much. Great information. I get asked this a lot. And of course, I'm not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV. And so it's always good to have somebody in your back pocket that's your advisor on this kind of stuff, especially, I'll tell you, especially in Florida, where it is just incredibly litigious. Everything is a lawsuit waiting to happen. And so you want to protect your assets. Thank you. Joe Seagle, mylandtrustee.com. It is scrolling across your screen, and you can reach Joe toll free at 833-4FL-TRUST. All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Joe, come back on anytime. I know I'm going to have a follow-up on this because I know I have a lot of investor friends out there who love this topic and always want to get more information. Thanks, Joe. We'll see you guys soon.